Good afternoon, everybody. Great to see everyone, most of you again. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Owasso Chamber Legislative Series Luncheon. My name is Michael Amberg. I'm the Regional Director of Sales for Community Care, and I'm the 2023 Chair of the Owasso Chamber of Commerce. To begin today's program, would you please stand as Joel Pepin, Superintendent for Rejoice Christian School, leads us in our invocation, and please remain standing as we proceed with our Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay, let's pray. Lord, this is a day that you have made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Father, thank you for this great country we live in and its government. Lord, we pray for the business and community leaders here today and all those who are in leadership positions in this country. Father, please protect them from evil that is in this world. Keep them safe and free from all harm. I thank you that we have men and women of truth, full of wisdom and respect towards you, Jesus. Lord, you have promised to bless any nation that follows after you. We pray that you give the men and women in leadership positions the understanding, the wisdom, and the ability to keep this country in order. Cause them to be bold and courageous. Surround them as a shield and expand their godly influence. Father, we praise you and thank you for blessing our country. I pray for our nation will accomplish what you want us to accomplish. I thank you that Jesus is Lord of the United States of America, and it's in your name that we pray. Amen.
Amen. Remain standing, salute, and pledge. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. We'd like to recognize our sponsors for the legislative series. The executive sponsor, Ascension St. John. Host sponsor, Tulsa Tech. Dignitary sponsors, AT&T, American Airlines, Oklahoma Natural Gas Company, and Public Service Company of Oklahoma. And our liaison sponsors, Verdigris Valley Electric Company and Flintco. Please give all our sponsors a warm round of applause. We're also pleased to have several elected officials with us today. If you are an elected official, would you please stand to be recognized? All right. Now would you please welcome our Owasso Chamber President and CEO, Chelsea Feary, to the podium to make some announcements.
I had to be on read just for a second. You will bear with me for just a moment. I'm going to tee something up for you.
The Empress Awards is an annual event with an award ceremony where we honor 10 outstanding women in our community for the impact that they have made in Owasso. We needed to put something in place that wasn't just a one-time, put it out there, we're going to recognize women once, but something that truly builds a legacy to honor women and their accomplishments in Owasso.
Women have an impact wherever we go, be it with our children or be it with our community and our church. And I think it's really important that we support and give resources and definitely give acknowledgement to the women, especially of Owasso, that are taking care of Owasso. I've been a practicing pharmacist in Owasso, Oklahoma for 31 years. I'm currently on my 4th generations of patients that have been able to have the privilege to partner with them in their health and well-being over the last 30 plus years. I was nominated and was fortunate enough to have been chosen and won the inaugural Health and Wellness Empress Award, and it was quite an honor. What I find with even health, that if I can support a woman taking care of herself, creating a culture around her that supports her wellness, there is a ripple effect that goes throughout her family and throughout her community. So it is critical that we support women not only with acknowledging their excellence and their efforts, but also in supporting them in being well.
My name is Dr. Leslie Clark, and I'm the campus director at Tulsa Tech in Owasso, and I received the Empress Award for promoting and developing women. I've been involved with the Career Tech Women in Leadership program, both as a participant and as a leader as part of their advisory team, and we just went across the state and provided a leadership training opportunity for women so they could pursue their leadership goals. I'm just very thankful to be recognized for developing and promoting women in our community because it's so important. And if that's one of the ways that we can make a positive impact in lives in our community, then I am super excited. I think honoring women with this kind of recognition encourages their pursuits of other opportunities, whether it's leadership or creativity or even self-care and just managing their families. I think it's really beneficial for us to recognize the good work that women are doing.
I see the Empress Awards as a legacy event. We are building a legacy of Empresses. So as we continue forward, we want to encourage that people continue to nominate people, continue to look for the outstanding females in this community. Think of the women in your life who have largely gone unnoticed, that keep everything running in the background. That's the Empress that you need to nominate. That's the person that needs to be recognized, and this is that place for recognition.
We are very excited about the Empress video and about what we've been able to do to start marketing that. We're actually creating a website that is just for the Empress Awards. It's going to be called owassoempress.com, and it is going to continue to build on the Empress Award winners year over year over year, where we will have videos like this, not just from this last year, but for years to come. And we look forward to being able to share that with this community and with other communities so that they can be encouraged to do similar things as what we're doing to lift up the women in our community. The reason why we wanted to show you the video now is because nominations will open up in December for this. So we want you to start thinking about who that is. The Empress Awards will be in March, and I know that seems like that's a long time away, but it really isn't. It's really right around the corner. So be thinking about who your Empresses are in your life, and then we will send out notifications for nominations in December and then months that follow. So anyway, I know that Dr. Kathy Campbell is here with us today. Dr. Kathy, thank you for your contribution to that video and to this community. Also, we've got some things just real quickly I wanted to bring up that are coming up. We have the State of the City coming up next month. Warren Lear, our city manager, is going to be delivering that. I hope that you all attend that. The city does such wonderful things for all of us in this room, for our businesses, for our residents, for our chamber, and Warren is great about highlighting all of the great things that are going on, as well as lifting our spirits. So really looking forward to his delivery next month. Gosh, that is that is less than a month away. So again, right around the corner. In between that time, we do have Shop Small Owasso. Very excited about that event coming up. You'll start seeing that advertised on some billboards in the community, even some radio spots. What does that mean for you? If you want to volunteer, we have some volunteer spots open. So look for those emails going out to the chamber membership and share them, please, as well. But probably more importantly is you are a consumer in this community. So go out and shop local. That's what it's all about, is shopping locally. I said just last week at our monthly luncheon that we spend a lot of money online. Our use tax reflects that. And while that is good and it goes back into our city, your sales tax not only helps our city, it helps your local businesses in this community. It helps the people in this room that are part of this chamber membership, that are here to be able to network, to be able to invest their life and their life's work into Owasso, Oklahoma. So please be a patron of those businesses. Go out and shop them during that day. and give back to this community by going into their businesses. We look forward to that. It's going to be a lot of fun. You have a chance to win prizes, $50 gift cards, but more than anything, it's just a great way to help support our community. So look for that coming up. We've got Business Over Breakfast on Wednesday. If you haven't been to one of those, you should attend. It is a great networking event, first thing in the morning. Looking forward to that. It's at the Bailey Education Foundation, which is located conveniently in the Bailey Medical Center. So we hope to see you all there. Now, I would like to play another quick video.
Hello, Owasso. This is Congressman Kevin Hearn. I wish I could be with you today. I look forward to speaking to you all for quite some time. But as you've probably seen in the news, plans have changed in the House of Representatives. Under the previous Speaker, the House was set to be in recess this week. Now we have a new Speaker, and I'm thankful that we are finally doing the necessary work to pass the appropriation bills and get our fiscal house in order. I know Robert Airy from my office is there to speak to you in a minute. But before he comes up, I just want to personally say two things. First, I want to say thank you for all the support I received from you during the race for the Speaker of the House. When our previous Speaker was removed, I was asked by many of my colleagues to lead our conference and help move our conservative solutions forward in the House to create jobs and get the federal government out of the way. This process was messy, it was long, and sometimes a bit chaotic, but I believe we are now better for it. As the candidate with the most business experience, and with just a few years in office, I'm proud of what we were able to accomplish and how close we came to making history. But most of all, I'm thankful that we now have a Speaker of the House who is committed to working with budget hawks like myself to get our fiscal house in order and move free market policies forward that address our unsustainable inflation, our unsustainable debt, and our deficits. Second, in closing, I want to commend the Owasso community for cultivating a pro-business environment that is rooted in character. As a small business owner for over 35 years, I know firsthand that businesses who love their community will receive that love back. People want to do business in Owasso because they know their people here have character. Thank you for allowing me and Robert to address you today. I look forward to being back with you soon. God bless you.
Awkward silence. I'm sorry. Okay. You got to see all my stuff there. That's awesome. Now please welcome Owasso Chamber Past Chair and current board member, Tony Heberlin, Chief of Communications and Economic Development Officer for Tulsa Tech, who is also our host sponsor for today's event to introduce our guest speaker.
Thank you. Robert Airy currently serves as the Deputy Chief of Staff and Counsel for Congressman Kevin Hearn. Robert oversees the Congressman's district operations and staff, coordinates with legislative staff on key policy issues, and advises the Congressman on legal issues in his role as counsel. Robert holds a bachelor's degree from Oral Roberts University, a law degree from the University of Tulsa College of Law, and a master's degree in government from Johns Hopkins University. He is a licensed attorney in the state of Oklahoma. Robert is a native Tulsan and currently resides in Tulsa with his wife, son, and golden retriever, who is yet to be named in the script, so we need to know what the dog's name. Come on up.
Well, thank you, Tony. The dog's name is Remy because I'm a gun fanatic, so it's named after Remington. It's a girl though, so we named her Remy. But she's beautiful, most precious thing on earth besides my child and my wife. So there you go. My name is Robert. Thanks for reading that introduction, Tony. My mom wrote that, the rest Tony made up. But really glad to be here. My primary job is I lead an awesome staff here in the district for Congressman Hearn. Privilege every day to work for him and lead an incredible group of staff. So obviously I'm not, I know they had a picture up there, but there you go, I'm not Kevin Hearn. So we'll start there. I'll let you in on a secret. Here's my philosophy on filling in for a congressman. So there's good and bad. First is this. Everyone's always very disappointed. That's the bad. Everyone's always super disappointed. The good news is expectations are always very low. So I set the bar low. Hopefully it will exceed expectations, and we'll maybe have a little fun along the way. The next thing, I like to say I'm an apologist for Kevin Hearn. In part, yes, I am his advocate. I represent him around the district, but literally, I'm an apologist for Kevin Hearn. The way this works, I was explaining to someone earlier, in Congress you have DC weeks and you have district weeks. So about Thanksgiving, the Speaker of the House and the Majority Leader put out what's called the Congressional Calendar. So here in a few weeks, we're going to get the Congressional Calendar for next year from the Majority Leader. So that sets forth which days members of Congress are in DC, which days are in district, and that's how we schedule. So if you're scheduling a fly-in or something, make sure you wait, talk to us in December to know if they're going to be in DC. If they're scheduling, if you want to be meeting here in the district, talk to us in December. And typically that's a pretty good indicator where they're going to be. You know, times change, flights change, but that's the way it works. For Chelsea, she had the unfortune of scheduling us during what's probably one of the most historically tumultuous times in congressional history. So those DC weeks have changed. So he was scheduled to be here this week. Obviously, you probably watched the news. Some stuff has happened since then. So I apologize. My role, I'm an apologist because I go on the apology tour when these things happen. I'm like the Grim Reaper of scheduling. If I'm here, it means your plans have died. So, yeah, but that's why I'm here. So I apologize again to Chelsea. Thanks for allowing us the opportunity. The Congressman wishes he were here. They are currently voting on appropriations bills. They're sending those over to the Senate. What happens to those, you can go talk with Mark Wendell and staff after this about that. Josh Owens here. Raise your hand, Josh. Yeah, you bet. So go talk to him. So we're sending things over to the Senate. They're voting on appropriations bills. The funding deadline is November 17th, for you who've been paying attention. There'll likely be a stopgap measure that's put on the floor probably this week on the House. We'll see where movers are. It depends on the length, depends on what's in it. But there'll likely be a stopgap measure that pushes that date back to some amount of time, whether it's January or April. We will see, and whether members vote on that will be dependent on what's in it and how long that is. But hopefully, the Congressman is very thankful that we're getting back to actually voting on appropriations, and hopefully we'll get there and actually do what Congress is meant to do, which is set a budget and vote on your taxpayer dollars. So I will only mention one thing about the speaker's race, and that is that for the Congressman's run, it's not only historic from a perspective of it's an Oklahoman, and he's only been in Congress 5 years, but something that whether you're Democrat or Republican that you should care about is that his biggest talking point was his business experience. The traditional role to be Speaker of the House is how long you've been there, what committees have you served, what type of fundraising have you done. For the Congressman, he was in the conversation because of what he did before Congress, as opposed to what he did, what's been there, which I think is good. I think that's a good sign for all of you, whether you're Republican or Democrat. I think that's something as business people, as a community, that you should probably think is a good thing, because that means people in Washington see the value in owning a business, signing the back of a paycheck, having that life experience. So that's all I'm going to say about the speaker's race. We can talk afterwards. There's not enough coffee in the world to go through Speaker's of the House race, but I'm happy to talk to any of you afterwards about that. And the next thing before I get to my main topic this morning I'm going to talk about is the voice that Owasso has. You have an incredible advocate in Chelsea. She does an incredible job. I know you know that. She didn't pay me to say this. She does an awesome job. She really, really does. And I think it's just objective that if you're looking at not only Owasso, it's a unique community, and I'll talk to you a little bit about that later, but communities like Owasso, what we're seeing is a growing share of power and influence, not only at the state capitol in Washington. We know that in the early 2000s, suburbs began to grow. It took a little dip with the financial crisis in 2008. But people, what we've seen in the last census, that the place Americans want to be are in smaller cities or suburban communities like Owasso. I don't think many people know, though, the political influence the suburbs are starting to have. Pew did a research, and they looked back at the past few elections. I don't think most people are aware 50% of voters who voted in 2016 were classified as suburban. But it's only getting stronger. In 2022, in the midterms, that number grew to 55%. I say that just simply to make a point, and that is that while you've got an incredible advocate here at the Owasso Chamber, you've got an incredible city, we've all witnessed the growth, your voice is going to continue to grow, and it's needed. More and more Americans believe in living where you are. They're buying what you're selling, and that's important. People like me advise people like Congressman to listen, because more and more Americans believe what you do. They live where you live, and they're flocking to places like Owasso, Oklahoma, and that is a good thing. So, my main topic of discussion today, the primary aspect of what made Congressman Hearn want to go run for Congress in the first place can be summed in one word. That's work. He said it over and over again. He drilled it in our heads that I'm going to run for office to go get government out of the way and put Americans to work. That is very, very hard, as you can imagine, with Congress and an institution that goes and follows the next closest shiny object, as a lot of government does. It's very hard to stay focused, but Congressman Hearn is. So I don't have the experiences that he has. But growing up as a person in the Ozark Mountains with literally nothing, with little indication that his future could be any brighter. No running water, no indoor plumbing, goes to school, goes to work, gets a job, gets a better job, starts a business, takes some risks, then one day employs thousands of people. That's his story, but that's so many other stories. And it all comes back to one idea, and that is work. Ronald Reagan said the best social program is a job. Bill Clinton, on the other side of the aisle, said work is more than about making a living, as vital as it is. It's fundamental to human dignity, to our sense of self-worth as useful, independent, free people. The NIH recognizes work now as a social determinant, meaning your healthiness can be judged, and it's an indicator on whether you're employed or not. In fact, the American Psychological Association says that research on unemployment shows that even when financial implications are not severe, its effect on mental health is real. Work provides time structure, identity, purpose, and a place for social interactions. And no matter what party you're from, or your personal politics, I think we all agree work in this country is changing. There's a lot of issues that we need to address. This is the lens I'm going to take my update from for the remainder of my time. According to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, we have 10 million job openings in this country, but we only have about 6 million people to fill it. Every single day in our office, people call us, say we can't find people. Or if we can find people, they're not the right people. They don't have the right training. They don't have the right skills. Our labor force participation rate is now still a full point lower than pre-pandemic levels, sitting at 62%. According to the Federal Reserve, they predict it's going to drop another percentage over the next decade. It is the number one concern that we have. And I don't say this just simply to bring up a problem. I'll tell a story to prove that. So, he mentioned my dog, but my son's name is Bear. My wife and I have been married 10 years this year. But we have a 3-year-old November 20th. And my son is really into cars, like very into Hot Wheels, very into cars. And so much so, he looks at every little detail. He points them out to us, and he'll call them out. We'll be driving on the road. Oh, that's a yellow Jeep. Oh, that car has markings on it, whatever it may be. One day we were walking into a large department store in the parking lot. And my wife is holding Bear like this, and I'm walking beside, and we pass a car that looks like this really nice, probably a couple years old Corvette. Very nice, black, shiny. Of course, Bear immediately says, oh, look at that beautiful Corvette. So that's on this side. We get just past the car, and there's a very large dent on the fender. And I thought to myself, oh no. Because the owner's Very muscular guy, burly. You kind of get the picture, like tattoos, the whole deal. It's on the car. You know, he's smiling when Bear's talking about, oh, that's a Corvette. And then my son sees the dent. And he says, Dad, it's damaged! Damaged! And I look back at the person, my wife starts walking quickly, and that gentleman, his face just goes down like this. I mean, you could have just deflated that gentleman. And my point is this. I'm not saying this just to yell at damage, because the easiest thing in politics is to point out a problem. It's easier to say it's damaged and walk away without providing solutions. But what I'm going to do here, just to remain in my time, is give a little bit of a different perspective. I have about a decade's worth or more in politics. I come at it from a different lens than my boss. We reach the same conclusions. But I want to give you a few things of what to watch for as it relates to work in 2024. And I'm going to just give my perspective as a political person, as someone who works for a congressman. What should you be watching for as it pertains to work over the coming year? The first is this, and I don't think it's often talked about, and that's our culture. I don't think we talk about that enough, but there are significant cultural changes that we've seen that's impacting what employers are seeing. People who are needing to find jobs. We don't often see it because you get a resume, but you don't know the history, you don't know the ideas. But it's extremely important. In 2021, we saw what's called the Great Resignation, where almost 47 million people quit their jobs. Given the timing, a lot of people thought that was just COVID. Certainly that had an impact, but I think most people rightly concluded this was part of a much, much larger trend. A Wall Street Journal poll came out earlier this year, and it made a lot of headlines because it got to what Americans view work. What we found in that article, in a study, was that 67% of Americans believe hard work was important to them. That's a 15-point drop since they began taking the poll. Now, that could be a lot of factors. It could be, as a political strategist, I can tell you, it could be how do you ask the, tell me the answer you want to get, and I'll tell you what question to ask, right? But what we have seen is that that's not alone. That's not just a simple instance. We put that with a growing sense that the place of hard work in American society is diminishing. But then Americans are less satisfied with work in itself. A LinkedIn poll surveyed millennials and Gen X people. I'm 35, so I'd be included in that. 61% of American workers were considering they're leaving their job this year. 7 in 10 Gen Zs were saying the same thing, or wanting a career change. When you look at demographics, it's completely different when you look at older Americans. Completely different by some 20 percentage point. Now, I know you're probably thinking, and I think there's some context there. If you're a young person and you're getting in the middle room, you're probably not too happy with your life, right? No one likes being in the middle room. They want to be in the executive suite. But when you put it all together, I think what you'll see is there's significant value. There's difference in values that we're placing on what hard work means. The Cato Institute, nonpartisan organization, also looked at how people view wealth distribution. Is our system fair? What they found was that 61% over the age of 65 believe our wealth distribution in America is fair. But 70% of Americans under 30 believe it's unfair. Of course, this has political implications, but that's not what I'm talking about today. What that does say is you have people placing less value on hard work. You have people less satisfied with work in their life, and you have a growing sense that our system is inherently unfair. Now, in a room this size, we all have different political perspectives, we all have different persuasions. That's fine, this is America. There's death and taxes, and you can count on every American has an opinion. That's great. So you can all come to your different conclusions. But I do bring this up because I don't think we talk about it enough. As an employer, We talk about education, I'll discuss that here in a second, but the culture aspect, what does work mean? Hard work is the engine that drives our economy. But the spark that sets the ignition, that's the ethic. That is something we have always had in this country. And it's a bigger answer than I have today. And that's not something I think even government should or can fix. But in a room this size, I know there's answers. And it's different for every community. People like Chelsea and so many leaders here in our community. That's something to think about. And as a person with a young son, I wonder what the workforce will look like and those values that I'm instilling in him. That's us as parents, community leaders. That's something we need to not forget about. The work ethic is just as important as the jobs. The next thing, population trends. We can't ignore it. We have an aging population in the United States. The Urban Institute, which is a liberal think tank, did a study, and they expect that those over 65, the age in America, will double over the next 40 years. For those 85 years and older, it's going to quadruple. Now what that means is we're going to have an increasingly large demographic of people that not only typically, just based on demographics, need services rather than paying taxes, but it also means for employers, it's going to have a tremendous amount of impact on our job markets. In addition to the aging population, we have declining birth rates. 43 states have recently experienced our lowest birth rate in 40 years. According to the NIH, you need 2.1 children per mom in order to just replace the population. Our last census revealed that the U.S. has about 1.6, so we're significantly down. A lot of people, you might, like me, I went back and looked. Is it COVID? Did COVID have an impact? Well, actually, if you look back prior to COVID, from 2019 to 2017, we had a 13% reduction in birth rates. It's a long-standing trend. After World War II, birth rates started to decline into the 70s. It started to turn around, and then with the housing crisis, birth rates have simply not recovered. So we have an aging population, but at the same time, our birth rates are declining. Something to look for. Now, you can't talk about work, you can't talk about workforce without talking about immigration. I know it's probably a taboo topic for a lot of people at the discussion table at Thanksgiving, but it's something you have to address. Immigration is typically used by not only our society, but other societies as a way to not only replace population numbers, but also as a way to contribute and get what we need in an economy. Here in the United States, we naturalize about 1 million people a year. So whatever you hear about immigration, meaning we're bringing in people and we're giving them citizenship at a rate of 1 million a year. I looked, and last check, there are 14 million green card holders, meaning they're legal permanent residents. They're not citizens, but they're legally here and can live and work. We have H-1B visas for skilled labor. You have a college degree or higher, and you're coming in with a special expertise. We use H-2As and H-2Bs for temporary workers. But I think what's true, and my office sees it every day, is that Americans feel like it's harder and harder to get the people who are doing it the right way here, and the people that we need here to contribute to our economy, but it seems to be easier and easier to do it the wrong way. It's just a fact, the numbers bear this out. Customs and Border Patrol reported 2.7 million encounters in 2022. At the end of September this year, there are already 2.8 million. Why am I bringing this up? You can feel however you want about our southern border. That's totally up to you. But as it relates to work, I think there's 3 things you have to have related to immigration. You have to have a strategic immigration system. It has to be systematic. And it has to be safe. For what we're seeing on our southern border, there is no way, however you feel about it, you can argue that it's safe. We have parents sending their young children across a border that's controlled by the cartels to be trafficked, both in sex trafficking and work trafficking. The heartless stories that children go through is just, the humanitarian crisis, just something that we as Americans can hardly comprehend. So there's no way you can say it's safe. And with states responding to the flows of migrants, there's no way you can say it's systematic. We're simply in response mode. And however you feel about politics, it's clear this administration does not have it under control. So if you can't be systematic and it's not safe, I would argue there's hardly any way to argue that it's strategic. And if we're going to use immigration as a tool, which we should, and we historically have, we're going to need to have a safe and systematic immigration system. That's why I know it's maybe not popular to everyone, but he supported H.R. 2, the Secure the Border Act, because he believes the first step to beginning to talk about these issues is securing our southern border, so that then we can be more strategic and ensuring the right people get here and we know where they are. The next piece is education. Now that's a big topic, and that's something that a lot of people have opinions about in Oklahoma. Education is a big piece of the puzzle. You can't get around it. The congressman believes that people in Owasso, Oklahoma are a lot smarter than people in Washington, D.C. When it comes to education, that doesn't change. People in Oklahoma know what's best for Oklahoma children. His general philosophy is we should have less money going to Washington, D.C. and keep more money here. But that said, when money goes to Washington, we do ensure that it's going to meet the needs of our employers here in Oklahoma. One of those ways is the Pell Grant Flexibility Act. We have one of the most fantastic technical education systems in the world right here in Oklahoma. And I'm not just saying that because we're in this building or because Tony's looking at me with his cowboy hat. We really, really do. And we need to lean into that. You know, part of Congressman's story is that before he went to college, he got a technical degree. He got a drafting certificate. That's part of his story. It doesn't mean that no one should go get a degree. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. But it needs to be a piece of the puzzle. We need those jobs. We need more and more students to feel like a technical degree or some other type of training outside of a college degree is something worth striving for. And I think if you look at the polling, it's interesting. I saw a Pew study that showed if you ask parents of children 18 and below, they said, do you think that getting technical education is a good thing? Overwhelming support. Then they asked them, would you advise your child to get a technical education? The numbers plummeted. We have to, it's just as much as a policy decision as we have to do the hard work of changing the culture around these things. Parents need to be able to know, hey, these are incredible careers. They're incredible careers for your child, and there's something that you can be proud of. Tulsa Tech does a fantastic job of it. But in addition to that, with higher education, we are really, and Adam can attest to it. Adam, say that, Adam Jones. Adam Jones represents Owasso in our area. He's my deputy district director, does a great job. We have incredible conversations with our higher education system here in Oklahoma of trying, they're doing incredible things, of not only working to ensure kids get degrees, but that those degrees begin to match what employers need. We're not there yet, of course, there's a lot of work to do, but what we've seen is there's incredible efforts to make that happen. One of those areas is at the University of Tulsa with their cybersecurity program. If you didn't know, probably one of the best cybersecurity programs in the entire country is right down the street at the University of Tulsa. It's flown under the radar, not enough people know about it, but they're now starting to get a lot of recognition. They're beginning the Cyber Innovation Institute, and we've been very supportive of that, both through appropriations as well as through grants. We work with Oklahoma State, University of Oklahoma. I have to say both because I know we just got through Bedlam and there's a lot of mixed hurt feelings today. There's some people, some happy, some hurt. So I have to mention both, but there's some incredible opportunities. And ensuring that kids are not just taking the easy classes, but the hard ones to ensure their future. The congressman said a lot. A lot of people come to us and they say, hey, we need more jobs for Americans. That's great. Great. Guess what? You can't find engineers in a lot of fields. You just can't. So how are we going to get there? It's not going to be overnight. It takes probably 25 years to train an engineer. So how do we change that? You start telling your kids, and your kids' kids, and their kids, to start taking the math, the science. We've got to get kids taking those classes again. That's hard to do, but it's a cultural thing that we've got to fix. Lastly is economic policy. It can't be understated. Americans are hurting right now. Inflation has outpaced wages for 26 straight months. Mortgage rates are the highest since 2000. The average mortgage monthly rate has gone up $1,200 since 2021. Credit card interest rates are the highest in nearly 3 decades. Prices are up almost 18%. Real wages have fallen almost 4%. So there's significant indicators, something we've got to be watching for. And I'll give you the 3 things as far as government policy to watch for in economic spending. The first is taxation. At the end of 2025, almost all the provisions of the Tax Cut and Jobs Act will go away. The corporate rate will still stay at 21% of the long-term capital gains. But a lot of the tax rates, the benefits that we're now enjoying, will go away unless Congress acts. So that means all the individual, the estate, and the pass-through provisions of the TCJA will simply expire at the end of 2025. That's important not only for you as individuals, but it's important because 9 in every 10 businesses in America are pass-through entities. 9 in every 10 will be affected by this. The income tax rates, of course, go back. The standard deduction will be cut in half. The estate tax will be reduced. That's something we should all be keeping a watch on. As it relates to spending, the federal government is expected to have a budget deficit of $1.5 trillion. Over the next decade, it's predicted to go to $3 trillion. We've seen what inflation can do as it relates to government spending. We've seen how inflation has been caused by this spending. And Americans are hurting, so we need to keep watch on that. Luckily, I think that conversation is beginning to have an effect in Washington, D.C. on both sides of the aisle. Regulations is something that most Americans don't hear about. When most Americans think of what's happening in Washington, they think about what's happening in the House, the Senate, or the White House. When in the reality, the actions it's taking and having the most effect on their everyday life have nothing to do with either one. It's happening by a bureaucrat. It's being taking action in an agency that hasn't been elected and has no accountability to the voter. In the first 100 days, we all know that Biden signed roughly 60 executive actions. 24 were direct reversals of Trump policies. But as the Wall Street Journal reported earlier this year, it's interesting to note the breadth and the number of regulations that have happened just in the last few years. In the first 2 years of this administration, 517 regular actions have been taken, with 3 costing taxpayers $318 billion. By the same point, for comparison, in his presidency, President Obama had 740, so more regulations, but cost less at $208 billion. Over 4 years, President Trump did 1,300 rules that only cost $65 billion. The estimate for the cost of our total regulatory burden on the American taxpayer is roughly $2 trillion. So if you were to put that into context, as a country, our regulatory cost to you, the taxpayer, is roughly equal to the economy, the total GDP of the country of France. Regulations stifle. They can stifle not only economic growth, but job creation. And that's something that we should all watch for. So in conclusion, I began with Owasso and went in with it. I had the privilege, like I said, I'm an apologist for Kevin Hearn. I had to fill in on something that was probably one of the coolest things I've ever done in my life. We had planned for months to have a naturalization ceremony where the congressman would speak, partnered with the USCIS, U.S. Customs and Immigration Services, to have the congressman be there to naturalize 27 citizens right here in our community. And of course, Congress was called back into session. So here I come, I get to speak, and it's probably one of the coolest things I've ever done. Because it's a great reminder of what it's all about. So I'm telling you this because in their first moments as an American citizen, I didn't tell anyone I was going to do it, and I didn't tell my staff I was going to talk about this today, but I talked about Marshall Roberts. I know some of you know that name. Grew up here, joined our Oklahoma Air National Guard, served honorably, and just 4 years ago in March, was killed on the field of battle after actually saving another airman, killed by enemy rocket fire. It was our first Guardsman to die since 9/11. So I talked about that because of this. I think absence is a very, very important part of what it means to be an American. Meaning, they are now here because someone else is not. We are now here because someone else is not. That's a tough thing to hear in your first moment as an American. But it's true. It's just the weight of what we have. And the reason I told them that is because of this. No matter what you do, whether you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, or don't care, everything you do in this democracy has an opportunity cost. There's a price for your freedom, and there's a price for everything you do. And your participation is not free. Owasso is a community that gets it. They produce people like Marshall Roberts. That's pretty great in itself. But I can tell you, around the state, around the country, Owasso is a place that understands that cost. Thank you for continuing these conversations. You could be somewhere else. You didn't have to be here. Chelsea didn't have to invite us. You could be doing anything else and making money, because I know it costs you to be here. That's pretty cool. Please never forget it. There's an opportunity cost, but it's worth it. Thank you very much.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, ooh, that's a hot mic. Hey, spoke everybody up. No. Rob, that was great, Robert. Thank you so much. Adam and I went back and forth for months on the congressman, and so whenever it boiled down to Robert, I was really excited because I've known Robert for years. I knew that he would get up here and he would have a powerful message. And the congressman trusts him, obviously, well enough for him to be able to do that. So thank you for that. I think that was not only a great message, but it was a message that we all needed to hear, too. So wonderful. I do want to thank our sponsors one last time before we cut you all loose. So thank you to Ascension St. John as our executive sponsor. Thank you Tulsa Tech as our host sponsor. Thank you to our dignitary sponsors, AT&T, American Airlines, Oklahoma Natural Gas Company, and Public Service Company of Oklahoma, and to our liaison sponsors, VVEC and Flintco, and I believe we've got a table sponsor in Cox Communications. So thank you all so much. Please give our sponsors a warm round of applause. We've got a lot coming around the corner with things to do. I'll tell you one thing, this chamber will always keep you engaged in something. And so we do appreciate that you take the time to be here, to have lunch with us all, to hear about the programs that we put forward. Please continue to give us feedback on how we can improve. Help to give us feedback on who you want to hear from, too. That helps us as well, because we want to be able to provide the programming for you that you're wanting to hear. So with that, it's Monday. You got a whole week ahead of you. Have a great week, everyone. Hope to see you at Business Over Breakfast on Wednesday, and if not, we'll see you soon. Thanks.